Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Innovation Hills. My name is Deel, and I'm the president of the Rochester Hills City Council, and we are so pleased to have each and every one of you here today. And to start us off, we have some special guests. I'd like to introduce Girl Scout Troop 71658. Girls, come on up. Thank you for joining us.
On behalf of my Girl Scout troop and I would like to introduce Mayor Barnett.
Thank you. Do you guys have some things prepared to say?
Yes.
Yes, you do.
Hello everyone, our names are Solana and Madison and we are going into 6th grade. Now that we're doing remote learning, reading is more important than ever. We think that reading is important because it's good to keep the mind active, and it is our priority to make sure our generation has access to books.
During this time, it's hard to focus online school. Sometimes kids just need a break from these abnormal events, and a good way to stay calm is by reading books. Books expand kids' imaginations. Books take children to a whole new world. So, please join me and Solana in making children's lives better by reading books. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Do we have to do our ones? Okay.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, ladies. And not only do they speak clearly and articulately, but they practice what they preach, as this Girl Scout troop helped us put in the free little library that is over the ponds and over by the sensory garden, in particular the butterfly garden. So let's give them another round of applause. Thank you for... We're especially happy to have all of you here today because it is a huge day in the history of Innovation Hills, and we're especially glad to have some younger users of Innovation Hills because today we're here to celebrate something that I hope all of you will truly love. We think we're getting ready to build one of the coolest playgrounds in the history of Michigan right here in Rochester Hills. So give yourselves a round of applause for being here today. You know, we gather here today to celebrate another part of a unique story that's being written really as we all watch it here in Rochester Hills, and specifically here on this property. We recently posted some pictures of the park. We took some aerial pictures with our team of Jason and Dan with our drone and flew over some of the boardwalk areas. And the pictures that we took, we placed on Facebook, and were so popular. They're, in fact, the most popular pictures we've ever posted in the history of the city, getting over 1,000 likes, shares, wows, and that really opened up people to understand what was happening here. And it really showed us that we were onto something incredible in what we're doing in developing Innovation Hills. One of the things we asked was people come here, what do they like about the park? And we get all sorts of answers. We love the glow-in-the-dark pathways. We love the boardwalks. We love the turtles in the ponds. But we got one comment from a gentleman by the name of Lyndon. And Lyndon said, my son's too young to write, but he said, this is not a park, which kind of hurt my heart. He said, this is not a park because there's no playground here. And you know what? To Lyndon's son, you're right. We need a playground. And so it won't be long now, but thanks to the group that's gathered here today and to the team at the city that has invested so much time and energy into planning this park, we're ready today to launch the next chapter of the story of Innovation Hills. And as I mentioned, we're here today mostly because we couldn't do it without all of you. I want to recognize some of the sponsors that are here today, some of our major donors who've helped make this park a reality to date. I also want to recognize some of the council members who you'll hear from in a little bit, who are an important, perhaps the most important partner that we have in this project. You already heard briefly, and you'll hear from him in just a second, but please let me recognize Rochester Hills City Council President Ryan Deel, Council Vice President Dr. Susan Boyer, Councilwoman and Innovation Hills neighbor Stephanie Marita. We're all going to your house for dessert. Councilman Dale Hetrick is here. Councilman Hetrick. Councilwoman Teresa Mangioli. And Councilman David Walker. Thank you. The state of Michigan has also been a great supporter of this project through the Land and Water Conservation Fund grants, and we're honored to have our state representative here who's been a massive advocate, not just for this project, but for the city as a whole. Former city councilman, current state rep, Mike Weber. Thank you for being here, Mike. We're also especially grateful for the friendship and the relationship that we built with the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation and the incredible generosity that they have shown Southeast Michigan and Western New York. JJ Ty is here, or should be here shortly, who's the director of the Parks and Trails Initiative. They are our single largest donor to date, and please join me in thanking JJ and his team for their amazing support, the Ralph C. Wilson Foundation. Thank you, team. The Mosheri family has been a tremendous supporter. The friends that we have from Chief Financial Credit Union, when every time we call, they answer with a yes. Our friends from Chief are here. Thank you for being here. Our friends John and Mary Modetz, who were here earlier today when we hosted the Rotary and are always supporters of the city. As you walk by the trail in just a minute, the 5 ponds that start at the parking lot and travel down into the pool and the pond in the lake area are the Modetz Ponds. We thank them for their sponsorship as well. Hamlin Tool and its owner and president, Pat Fulhalick, is here and has always been a great supporter of our park projects as well. We hosted the Rochester Rotary earlier today, and they made a 3-year contribution to form and to build a pavilion in the playground area behind me. I'm a proud Rotarian. There's many Rotarians here, and we thank the Rochester Rotary for their support. Yesterday, or I should say Sunday, was the 13th annual running, this time virtually, of the Brooksy Way. And the Brooksy Way, through the leadership of Deb Flynn and the race director and their foundation, have also been major contributors to help make this day possible under the historic leadership of L. Brooks Patterson. And we thank them for their support. We thank our very first sponsor, Scott's Miracle Grow, for the work that they did in bringing us the Sensory Garden. We thank Greg Piperzak from TJ Piperzak. Greg's here somewhere in the back. There he is, Greg. Thank you for your leadership, and Greg's the one really building the park. So thank you for your support and your vision and your dedication. We appreciate you. And hardly any of this would be possible without the support of the Community Foundation of Greater Rochester. They're the arm that really allows us to do all of this. And to Joe Allen, our director, thank you for being here. How about a round of applause for Joe Allen? And of course, as I mentioned earlier, the largest supporter of this and true partners and colleagues in this project have been the Rochester Hills City Council and the residents of the city. There's no stronger partnership than to be able to create and take a vision to a group of people who ask good questions and then help you build it along the way. And with that being said, I'd like to invite Council President Ryan Deel to come back to the mic to offer some remarks today. Ryan?
Thank you, Mayor Barnett, and thank you, everyone, for being here today. I am so happy to see you all here as we get ready to break ground on this playground at Innovation Hills. And on behalf of City Council, I want to thank you all for your role in making this possible. I want to thank my City Council colleagues for being here and supporting this project today. The city's been developing this innovative playground for over 3 years, and it's wonderful to see it becoming a reality. The world is dominated by computer screens like these. And that means that playgrounds are a crucial public amenity to offer opportunities for outdoor play for our children. This playground is particularly special because it appeals to all children, with a special focus on those with autism. The city has sought input from Dutton Farms, OU Cares, and the Rochester Community Schools Special Education Department to review the plans and ensure that it meets all the needs of all children. The City Council views this playground as a long-term investment in our children. serving the developmental needs in a way that is currently not available locally. This playground will ensure that children of all abilities, including those with special health care needs, are able to grow up where their social, emotional, and educational needs are met, and hopefully have a lot of fun along the way. On behalf of the City Council, I want to thank the mayor and all the city staff who had a hand in making this park a reality. I also want to express our deep appreciation for everyone who has financially contributed to this park, for your investment in our city. Without you, none of this would be possible. Thank you, and thank you again for being here today, and it is my sincere hope that our community's children enjoy this playground for many years to come. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. I have some notes here that were printed up to talk a little bit about the story of this park, but I know it pretty well, and I think I'd rather just share it without notes. I don't know if anyone realizes how we got to where we are today, but it's a pretty incredible story, and it's one that without some generous people, some fortuitous circumstances, and really some blessings, that we would be here where we are. The city purchased this property back in the early 1990s, long before any of you Girl Scouts were alive. Sounds like ages ago, right? And held the property for a long time. We maintained it. It looked probably like the property across the street, had some trees, had some water features, but it certainly didn't have these lakes, and no one, unless you lived really close to here, knew much about the property. And we knew as we got through into the 2000s that we wanted to try to advance our park system, but at one point we really hit, and many of you remember this, a really terrible recession in 2009 and 10 and 11. And instead of looking at advancing our parks, we had to look at maintaining our public safety and investing in our infrastructure. And so projects like park development were shelved and put aside as we took really care of the basic necessities of a community like Rochester Hills. And one day, one of our employees who's no longer with us had an idea. He's a pretty creative guy, and he said, we have this property over there. It was called Riverbend Park. And we've never done anything with it. Why don't we reach out to a land improvement class, a land planning class, and see if they might want to consider it a project? So he approached Lawrence Tech University and said, hey, listen, we have an idea. We have a pretty cool piece of property. Why don't you think about maybe doing a project on it? And they agreed. And so these students came out for a semester and made this property their project. And the goal of the semester project was that, listen, without any restrictions on finance or money or really any design, what could this be? What could you dream here? And 8 cohorts of university students grabbed tents and lived out here, camped out here on weekends. Looked at it in the sun, looked at it in the rain, threw ideas together, some great, some not so great. But at the end of the semester, they presented to me and to the Planning Commission what they thought this park could be. And they did it in a way that they created charrettes and designs and pictures and models. And once they presented, we didn't have any money for this, but the designs were awesome. So we put them around City Hall. We placed them by department offices, and we placed them as you walked in, and we showed people this weird piece of property and some of these crazy ideas with giant dragonflies and huge sunflowers that you could climb and tree houses and crazy bridges. And I'll never forget one day a gentleman came in. He was a very familiar contractor to me in the city. And he said, Bryan, come here. What's this? It was one of the charrettes. And I said, well, Steve, this is a design we have for a park. He said, well, when's it going to be done? I said, well, Steve, we haven't started. We were trying to raise the money. And he looked at me, and I'll never forget this. He said, well, what if I gave you $1 million? Would that help? Guess what? It would. It did. And he did. And we began a relationship with a gentleman who was inspired by the students of Lawrence Tech who had an idea as to what this piece of property could be. They dreamed a dream, and that dream started to get life because generous people along the way, like many of you, came alongside to support that dream. And along the way, we did everything we could possibly to engage the neighbors, to engage architects from around the world and around the country through the Mayor's Institute of City Design. We had some ideas that were really cool, some ideas that didn't look as cool. Some ideas changed along the way, but all along the way, we thought, what can we do to improve the lives of the residents of Rochester Hills? This piece is pretty unique. It's 78 acres on the south side of the Clinton River, and then later we purchased 40 acres on the north side of the Clinton River, making this 118 acres about our third largest active park. And uniquely, if you live over on this side of town, you'll know that there aren't many parks on this side of town. Think about Borden, Bloomer, and Spencer, all basically located on John R. in the east side of our city. So this is a very underparked part of our community. As we began to gain momentum, we began to sit down with partners like many of you I've mentioned here, sitting at tables. I remember sitting with you, Tom, at Lucky's. I remember sitting with Steve at a Burger King. I remember sitting with Mosherry's at a golf course. I remember breakfasts and lunches all over the city to raise money, to ask people if they'd help us make this dream a reality. And here's what we said. We said we want this to be unique because the people of this community are unique. Our tagline, that pin that everyone got on the way in, if you look at it, says innovative by nature. Every individual who works for the city of Rochester Hills has a business card, says the same thing. And what does that mean? It's not just a tagline, it's pretty unique when you think about it. Innovative, innovation. It means being creative, thinking outside of the box, doing something different, hopefully doing it better. Rochester Hills residents are pretty good at being innovative. You might not know that Rochester Hills residents or businesses receive a patent more than one a day. For the last 5 years, more than one patent a day has been given to a Rochester Hills or business in the community. Pretty innovative. More robots are made down the street at Fanuc Robotics than any other place in North America. So they're really creative people. But when you ask people why they love living here, you know what they mostly say? It doesn't take too long for them to start talking about the beauty of the community. The trees, the nature, the fact that every street, if you drive it, moms, is a hill, right? There aren't very many straight streets in our community. The fact that we have 2 rivers and beautiful trails and pathways. Innovative by nature is who we are. So this park gave us an opportunity to express that in a dramatic way. To find the nature that was here in this 118 acres, to enhance it, but to do it in a way that was innovative. We could have built these lakes and had pathways around them, but we said, let's do it something a little different. Let's make them glow in the dark. So all these pathways behind me, if you've ever been here at night, they glow in the dark. No one has more glow in the dark pathway between here and Disney World than Rochester Hills. We decided that we could do some unique things with the other areas of the park, the different things with the playground, which we're here to announce today. Our direction for the playground, let's make it incredible. Let's make it the coolest place for kids to play anywhere in Southeast Michigan. Let's make sure nothing in this playground looks like something you can find somewhere else. So at the center of this playground is going to be a sort of a Disney's Tree of Life, a 3-story massive structure that you enter in on the 2nd floor and then slide down into the playground. To get into the playground, moms, dads, you're going to have to slide in. Some other ways, maybe. For the most part, you're going to have to slide in. There's going to be some amazing features that you can't find anywhere else. Almost all of them accessible for folks of all ages and all abilities. Maria's over here, my chief of staff, is going to hold up one of the cool features. We're going to put a river in the middle of the playground. A river that's the exact shape and it's the exact shape, not size, shape of the Clinton River that bisects this property. And you'll be able to turn on that river and jump across it, put a leaf in it and race, understand how it moves, walk through it. It's going to be really, really cool to help understand the importance of how water moves and how important a river is to the ecology around it. These lakes behind me are pretty cool. We've got 3 waterfalls in them. The lake behind me is about 12 feet deep. The one at the top for ice skating and toy boats is about 8 feet deep. People love coming out here for pictures. They love coming out and exploring the mound behind me. I can't believe this is one of the first times I've been here that there aren't kids behind me running up and down that hill. But everything that happens out here, we want it to be fun. I want you to grab your moms and dads by the hands and tell them, we have to be at Innovation Hills on Saturday. I want to be there and see this new playground. We got to take our friends to see this new playground. That's what I want the energy to be around this park. We've been blessed. Because of so many folks gathered here today and throughout the path of this story, we've been able to put together what we think is an amazing park. Something that will be here forever. For your Girl Scouts, for you, for your Girl Scouts in the future. Hopefully we'll be able to run on that hill and play on that playground. When the city council invests in the future of this city in this kind of way, this is something that's permanent and speaks to the quality of life of this community. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for helping us make this dream possible. I want to thank my team. Ken Elward is over here. Ken, raise your hand. He deserves a huge round of applause. I come out here all the time, usually with a hat on, nondescript, hanging out, sitting on a bench, watching people enjoy the park. I take notes. People like this. They don't like this. They're confused about this. They're not going that way. Why aren't they doing this? And then I come in every Monday just about and tell Ken, and he hates me. I know he does. I know he really doesn't enjoy that, but the goal, of course, is to make the point. See? I think he actually does, actually. That was a strange, honest reaction, Ken. You should learn to hide that a little more. But everything that we're doing here is designed to improve the quality of life for our residents, which is why we made sure that even on that super cool tree house that I just mentioned, that massive structure in the middle, you're going to be able to access that in a wheelchair so that everyone can enjoy the coolest parts of the park. It's important to us. It's important to our council. It's important to our administration. So we're going to take the beauty of this park purposely, not to add active recreation. There won't be baseball fields and soccer fields and lights or concerts here, but we want to create a place where families gather, where people create memories, where people want to be, a destination that speaks to the community and the heart of what and who Rochester Hills is. This parcel's cool. It's only about 1,500 feet from the Clinton River. The Clinton River goes through it, the Clinton River Trail, which connects with the Iron Bell Trail, which means if you're on a bike, you can get just about anywhere and get here in just a few seconds. This park is connected by the water. If you're able to join us for a short, maybe 20-minute walk around in a loop, you're going to see we've got a kayaker who's positioned and ready to go. Right now, probably wondering where we are right now. At our new kayak launch that was just put in, completely handicap accessible kayak launch put in just about 2 weeks ago. We've got some amazing boardwalks. We've got some amazing places for you to see, all connected in this uniquely positioned, perfectly wonderful jewel of 118 acres right here in Rochester Hills. So our story continues. It continues today with the groundbreaking for the playground. We ask that if you have a great idea, when we all start to travel again, if you see something really cool, tell me. Send me an email. If you're in Colorado and you see something crazy, let me know. If you're in Florida and you see something with water we have to have here, I want it. I'm working right now on glow-in-the-dark frogs. I don't know. Ask Ken. It's true. I am. I saw them somewhere and I want them. But we want your greatest ideas because we want to make this something that you all love, something that the community appreciates, and something that we call home. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this story. Thank you to my team who worked so hard, not just Ken, but the entire staff. Thank you to the facilities team who helped set this up today. From a logistics standpoint, at the conclusion of my remarks here in just about 90 seconds, I'm going to ask the city council and the donors that I identified before to come up with me, and we're going to take a few pictures with some fancy shovels and officially break the ground. And the playground, which if I haven't mentioned, is over here where the bulldozer is. And at the conclusion of those remarks and these shovel pictures, I invite you. I hope you can join us. It's not long. I know it's a little chilly, but it's not as bad as it was a couple weeks ago when it was raining. To join us on this path. And there's 3 stops where we have 3 individuals that are waiting to tell you a little bit more about what's happening here. One right there by the bathrooms to show you the butterfly garden, the sensory garden, and tell you a little bit more about the playground. One at the kayak launch. And our naturalist, Lance DeVoe, has got some live animals and some dead ones. Things you'll find here in the park, and to tell you a little bit more about what the animal and the fauna are like here in the park. So if you can spend a half an hour, I promise you won't be disappointed. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a part of this continuing story. To our donors, thank you as well. And if you do need, I should say this finally, we also have golf carts and we have drivers. So if you are unable to make the walk and would like to be driven and have a tour in one of our golf carts, we'd love to take you around as well. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Welcome to the next coolest phase of the coolest park in Southeast Michigan, Innovation Hills. Thank you. But if you back up a little bit, you can see that it's a beautiful big butterfly, and we have butterflies all the time. This is a really cool part of the park. People love it, and the library makes it, kind of unique, which we're really thankful for.